Good afternoon to the special call meeting of July 21, 2020, the Owensboro Board of Commissioners. This time I would ask our City Clerk, Beth Cecil, to please call the roll.
Commissioner Jeff Sanford.
Here.
Commissioner Larry Conder.
Here.
Mayor Tom Watson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Larry Magliner.
Here.
Commissioner Pam Smith-Wright.
Here.
Thank you. Item 3 is the invocation and the pledge. We'll ask Mayor Pro Tem Larry Magliner, please. Please stand.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, we pray that we do our best and we work together for the betterment of our community and always make decisions that are best for our fellow citizens. We ask that you guide and direct our meeting so that it is full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mag. Item 4A is considered approval of minutes dated June 16, 2020. I'll make a motion to approve. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item 4B, if you'll allow me to read all these appointments and we'll approve them all at one time. Audubon Bond Harbor Neighborhood Alliance, reappoint Zach Dreger to a 2-year term effective July the 1st, 2020. Dugan Best Neighborhood Alliance, reappoint Andrea Johnson to a 2-year term effective August the 1st, 2020. The Dogwood Azalea Neighborhood Alliance, reappoint Ed Oldham to a 2-year term effective July the 1st, 2020. Shively York Neighborhood Alliance, appoint Timothy Scheidigger, Scott Gillian, Terry Hedges, and Eric Houchin, and Tracy Bivens Helm to a 2-year term effective July the 21st, 2020. The Property Maintenance Code Enforcement Board, reappoint Dale Taylor to a 3-year term effective July the 1st, 2020. Reappoint Lisa Fulkerson to a 3-year term effective August 15th, 2020. The Historic Preservation Board, reappoint Louise Murdoch to a 3-year term effective August the 1st, 2020. The Civil Service Commission, reappoint Shelley Shepard to a 3-year term effective July 18, 2020. And the Ambulance Contracting Authority Board, appoint Lieutenant Mike Staples to fill the remainder of a term effective August 1st, 2020 and ending January 1st, 2023. I'll make a motion to approve these. Could I have a second, please?
Second?
Any discussion? Only discussion I'll have is I want to thank Adrian Caracole, Mayor's assistant, for all the hard work she puts in to try and keep these neighborhood alliances going. They're very important to our community. Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, second readings, we have none. Item 6, ordinances, first reading. There will be no vote. Council.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Ordinance 9-2020, an ordinance closing a portion of the south right-of-way of West 5th Street on the north side of the property located at 1008 West 5th Street, Owensboro, Kentucky, and containing 0.022 acres at the request of Visha LLC, introduced and publicly read on first reading this 21st day of July, 2020.
Thank you. City Manager, do you have any comments?
Yes, just briefly, Mayor. This is first reading of an ordinance closing a portion of an alley or right-of-way between West 5th Street and 1008 West 5th Street. The request to close this portion of the alley was submitted by the owner of the property at 1008 West 5th, and he is the owner of all property contiguous to or adjacent to the portion to be closed. The request to close has been reviewed and no problems were identified.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Commissioner Pam Smith-Wright.
Just a question. Is that the old Tags building? Or is that
Have to ask somebody over
Oh, it's
60.
like a business. I think they're opening a convenience store in the building. It's kind of a
No,
Huh?
it's the old
It is
restaurant.
Tags? Okay. Thank you.
You have to be old enough to know about that. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none. Okay, item 6B, council.
Ordinance 10-2020, an ordinance annexing to the City of Owensboro certain unincorporated territory in the County of Davis adjoining the present boundary line of the city, being property owned by the Davis County School District Finance Corporation located at Hayden Road near Highway 603, most recently assigned the address of 3901 Fairview Drive, containing 22.799 acres more or less. Introduced and publicly read on first reading this 21st day of July 2020.
Thank you. City manager, please.
Yes, this is first reading of an ordinance for the consensual annexation of approximately 22.8 acres with an address at 3901 Fairview Drive. This property being annexed is a portion of the site for the new Davis County Middle School. It is just a portion of the site. The other piece of the DCMS site is already in the city, and the school system needs the entire footprint or both pieces for the school in the city in order to proceed with the project. As a result, they have provided consent for the annexation to proceed. So again, this is a consensual annexation.
It is consensual, right?
That is correct.
No. Okay, good. Any other discussion?
It is consensual, right?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 6C, council.
Ordinance 11-2020, an ordinance annexing to the City of Owensboro certain unincorporated territory in the County of Davis adjoining the present boundary line of the city, being property owned by Senior Green LLC, located at 2224 Pleasant Valley Road, containing 24.737 acres more or less. Introduced and publicly read for approval this 21st day of July 2020.
Thank you. City manager, please.
Yes, Mayor, just to add that like the last item, this is a consensual annexation.
Okay, great. Council, item 6D.
Ordinance 12-2020, an ordinance of the City of Owensboro, Kentucky, expanding the boundaries of the Gateway Commons development area, approving an amended and restated local participation agreement relating to the development area, approving a first amendment to the development plan related to the development area, approving a master development agreement among the city, the Department of Finance and Support Services of the city, GW Development Incorporated, and the Owensboro Regional Water Resource Agency, further restating, reaffirming ordinances 16-2015 and 15-2018. Introduced and publicly read on first reading this 21st day of July 2020.
Thanks, council. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
This is first reading of a rather lengthy ordinance with 3 distinct components, all relating to the Gateway Commons development area and its use of tax increment financing, also known as TIF, to provide for public infrastructure within the development. The first component is approving what's called the Master Development Agreement, or the MDA. Purpose of the TIF is to use state and local revenue generated by the development to reimburse for the cost of infrastructure within that particular development area. The MDA is a document that dictates the share of revenue received by each entity that has costs within the development area. For Gateway Commons, that is 3 entities, RWRA, the developer, and the city. After negotiations among the 3 parties, we have agreed to share TIF revenue proportionally to our cost, with RWRA receiving 22% of the revenue, the developer 65%, and the city the remaining 13%. This is a fair and equitable sharing of revenue, and all 3 parties are agreeable to this arrangement. The second component of the ordinance is to approve an amended local participation agreement, or LPA. The LPA is an internal document between the city and the city finance department, providing the finance department the direction necessary to actually administer the TIF. The commission has previously approved the LPA, and this amendment makes minor changes so the LPA is consistent with the MDA, which we are approving for the first time. And then finally, the third portion of the ordinance is amending the Gateway Commons development area and plan. As explained in the hearing prior to this commission meeting, this amendment expands the boundary of the Gateway Commons development area to include additional public infrastructure adjacent to the current boundary and to align the boundary with parcel lines. We have previously amended the development area to align with the Town Place Suites parcel boundary. The city's TIF consultant, Casey Bolton with Commonwealth Economics, is here should you have technical questions, and the developer is available by phone as well.
Thank you, City Manager. Any discussion from the dais? Commissioner Condor,
Thank you, Mayor.
you're welcome.
Couple of just questions maybe for clarification, please. This is the part of the sharing mechanism that is for the local revenue stream, not for the state. Is that correct? So the state,
That is both.
that is both of them, okay. Okay, and possibly, maybe Mr. Bolton can answer this question. It has more to do with other TIFs, if he doesn't mind to take the microphone. Curious question. There have been several discussions or comments made about the Gateway Commons itself and the TIF of what businesses have gone in there. And some people have, even my concern also is that there had been in other TIFs within our state to where there were exclusions for businesses that are already within the community, within the city or county. That they only had TIFs for incremental businesses, I suppose for lack of a better name. How many other communities do you see that has that, and should we have had it?
I would say it's not the most common practice to include that exclusion. Usually there's a specific goal that a TIF district is trying to achieve, and oftentimes there may be some movement. I think most of that movement is generally out of less appealing space and into a new space, and then there's usually a goal to backfill some of that space that's vacated. I think each community has its own goals and objectives, and I think you just kind of have to look at each project on its own standing. Whether that should have been here or not kind of remains to be seen. I think part of what we tried to do in this adjustment to the MDA is equitably balance more of the share of the state revenues and the local revenues, so that there is some equal responsibility with regard to qualifying under the state program and the local incentives. Previously, the local incentives were 100% to the developer, and now they're more split to also include the state and local tax dollars, so that if the state agreement is not met fully and those state tax dollars are not fully achieved, then there's still the same split applied to the local tax dollars instead of 100%. So that was part of the goal in the negotiation with the developer.
Okay, so going forward, if there are businesses located within the city, moves into the TIF, there's not anything really that can happen, good, bad, or indifferent. That prerogative is still there because that language is not in any type of agreement we have. Is that correct?
I believe that to be correct. One of the changes with the LPA was to ensure that the middle school taxes were not a part of that agreement, so that the occupational taxes from the middle school would not be eligible for reimbursement to the developer. I know that was a consideration, and also we have capped their award at $27 million as per the original agreement, but also including the state revenues. So the city should reap some benefit from that as a part of the negotiations as well.
Thank you, Mr. Bolton. One last comment, Mayor, if I could, please. To staff, this is a long time coming, and how hard it probably was to put this together. I can assume that some paint probably came off the wall in certain discussions of how this should have been done, and it's taken a while, but I appreciate your work and effort of everything you've done. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. I suppose also, Casey, most of that's going to be consumer driven, really, isn't it? I mean, to decide what goes where and where people shop. It's really more consumer driven than anything else, isn't it?
Sure, and obviously the landscape is always changing, and in today's world with COVID, maybe even more rapidly than previously. So I think it is good to have new development in the community and keep everybody interested in getting out and shopping the traditional way rather than online.
Well, I can speak to Commissioner Condor's comment. I happen to be a participant in some of those meetings, but City Manager Nate Pagan and Angela Hamrick and Steve Lynn and Leland Hancock Casey and, was it Mr. Parsons? And also the Gateway folks. It was an arduous process and a long time coming. And I'm very thankful that you all stuck to your guns and everybody kind of came out with a little piece of the pie, and that's what a compromise should do. And I'm very pleased with it, and I thank you, Casey, for overseeing that, because it was a little different than what you normally do, I think, wasn't it?
Each project's its own challenge.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Council, 7A, I think. Is that correct, Jess?
Municipal Order 17-2020, a municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute the filing of a Coronavirus Relief Fund CRF application for reimbursement of incurred expenses in CRF funds with the Department for Local Government, and further authorizing and directing the mayor to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by DLG to reimburse city, and further authorizing the mayor to act as the authorized correspondent for reimbursement. Introduced and publicly read for approval this 21st day of July, 2020.
Thank you. Any city manager, would you please comment?
Yes, be happy to, Mayor. The CARES Act was a central component of the federal government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. A large portion of the money went to states, and luckily for us, the state of Kentucky has made much of their portion available to local governments. The Department for Local Government at Frankfort requires this action by the Commission as part of the city's application to submit for reimbursement for CARES Act funding for which we are eligible.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve. Could I have a second, please?
Second?
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Council, 7B.
Municipal Order 18-2020, a municipal order establishing and maintaining a formal list of the roads within and maintained by the City of Owensboro. Introduced and publicly read for approval this 21st day of July, 2020.
Thanks, Council. I'll make a motion to approve. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay. City Manager?
State has required that we approve a list of all city-maintained streets. Therefore, this municipal order formally approves the name, route number, and length of all streets in our street index.
I don't know if that's good or bad, do you?
I do not. There was a mandate that required quite a bit of staff time to compile, but we really had all the information anyway, but it's probably good to have it in a central location.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item 7C, Council.
Municipal Order 19-2020, a municipal order authorizing and directing the mayor to negotiate and execute a real estate purchase agreement for the acquisition of property located at 1426 Jackson Street, declaring the property as surplus, and further authorizing the mayor to execute a deed transferring the property in accordance with KRS 82.083 to Owensboro Area Affordable Housing Solutions Incorporated. Introduced and publicly read for approval this 21st day of July, 2020.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
City Manager, do you have any comments?
Yes, just briefly, Mayor, we've done several arrangements like this recently, but the Community Development Department proposes to purchase 1426 Elm Street with federal funds to build an affordable single-family home. We've recently completed a similar project at 1405 Jackson Street with Habitat, and the Owensboro Area Affordable Housing Solutions, which is it's called a CHODO, has completed and sold an affordable house at 1420 Jackson Street. Both sold to low to moderate income qualifying first-time home buyers. This lot at 1426 will be purchased for $9,000, consolidated with the city-owned lot at 1428 Jackson Street, which was donated to the city by Miss Mary Sennett. The Owensboro Area Affordable Housing Solutions will, in partnership with the city, will construct an affordable single-family home on the site that will be sold to a low to moderate income first-time home buyer in the range of $80,000 to $90,000.
Point of clarification, I don't believe it has anything to do with Habitat for Humanity, correct?
This one does not. We did
That's correct.
a neighboring
Right.
property, but this one will be basically as a partnership between the city and the housing authority,
Yes.
essentially. No? Let's see.
Oh, I wonder why she was here. Abby Shelton.
Abby Shelton, Community Development Director. Mayor and Commissioners, this is the third of 3 lots we've rehabbed on this street, and it's a partnership with our Community Housing Development Organization, which is a separate entity called ACHOTO. And every year we receive home partnership funds. We have to put 15% of those funds aside, and this entity will use those funds as well as some more of our home partnership funds to build a single-family home. We use $75,000 revolving loan fund to construct the home, and then we do put additional funds in it.
Is this like that vacant lot right next to that one we just did, like maybe
Yes,
whenever
that
it
beautiful
was
home at
pre-COVID?
1420, it's going to be right next to it, yes.
Okay, that's great.
Yep.
That'll really help that area quite a bit.
Yes, sir.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Council, item 7D, please.
Municipal Order 20-2020, a municipal order authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a deed conveying the city's 1/3 interest in Lot 3, consisting of 8.41 acres and identified as 3818 Air Park Drive, Unit 2, Phase 1 of Mid-America Air Park, to Kentucky Bioprocessing Incorporated, introduced and publicly read for approval this 21st day of July, 2020.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
City Manager, please.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Economic Development Corporation President and CEO Brittany Johnson is here to brief the commission on this item.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Brittany Johnson, 6158 Fairmont Court, Owensboro, Kentucky, 42303. Pretty simple and self-explanatory. Looking to sell 8.41 acres to Kentucky Bioprocessing for future development, and I will entertain any questions that you might have. Perfect.
Perfect. Even better.
Okay. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Ms. Johnson. Item 8, City Manager items.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Angela Hamrick for Waninger will present the May financial report. Sorry, it's gonna take a while.
Angela what?
Waninger.
Winiger?
Mm-hmm.
How you say it?
Waninger.
Waniger? Okay, you're up.
I'm up. If you will put my PowerPoint up for me, please, Mayor.
What's this?
All right.
Oh, wow.
Technologically savvy.
There we go.
Thanks, Beth Cecil.
All right. Well, I will be reporting on the general fund activity for the month of May. As I speak on these slides, you may refer to page 3 of your financial packet for more detail. Okay, so for our first slide, for the month of May 2020, our actual revenues of $4,257,216 were more than budgeted revenues of $4,055,676. This favorable variance is primarily due to higher occupational payroll withholdings. Our next slide is for the 11 months ended May 2020 and represents our total actual revenues of $54,981,841 that exceeded budgeted revenues of $54,566,947 for a positive variance of $414,894. And this variance is primarily due to continued higher occupational payroll withholdings, tax offset by lower net profits license fee. Our next slide is for the month of May 2020. It's our actual expenditures of $3,734,763, which were less than budgeted expenditures of $4,344,514 for a variance of $609,751. This is primarily due to savings in personnel services, which is primarily due to our vacancies. This slide represents 11 months ended April 2020 of our actual expenditures of $49,645,630, which was less than budgeted expenditures of $53,018,251. The variance is primarily due to savings in personnel services in timing in various areas such as street work, supplies, and outside services. And I just wanted to add that one may ask, why would we have timing still in the month of May? And you will see why when we do our carryovers into the next fiscal year. A lot of our items will go over fiscal year periods. So that's why we have these timing variances still in the month of May.
Municipal accounting, right?
Yes, it is, Mayor. And this is our last slide. As you can see on this chart, the revenues depicted by the green line and the expenses in red. The city's revenues and expenses are cyclical, meaning that they change month to month, and expenses can exceed revenues in the warmer months when street and grounds maintenance and parks are in full swing. Likewise, there are months that traditionally have higher revenues, such as October and November, which is when we collect our real and personal property taxes. Typically, April has higher revenues than expenditures due to collection net profit taxes. However, as you can see, this particular year, we happen to be below budget for this revenue stream due to the extended filing deadline. We do anticipate to collect those revenues just at a later time. If anyone has any questions, I am happy to try and answer.
Any questions? Wonderful. So I'll make a motion to file for financial report for audit. Could I have a second, please. Thank you, Commissioner Condor. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. What's that, Neil?
I do have one quick comment to make on this that I think is worth pointing out. So, but go ahead and vote. I'm sorry.
Well, what are the rules of Roberts supposed to do here? Should we vote and then you comment? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. City Manager Nate Pagan has a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to point out specifically something in the financial report related to occupational tax in the general fund for the month of May, which will be activity from April, Angela, if that's correct. And so if you recall back, that it was in the midst of the COVID closures. And so if you think about the occupational tax is pretty much a perfect proxy because it's a gross tax in effect on wages and salaries, right? So there's no deduction, so it is a perfect representation of the salaries and wages paid within the city. And for the month of May, we were $200,000 or $199,000 over budget. So I think that's a testament to the strength of our economy over the last few months and how we've been very blessed over the last few months.
You didn't tell me to hit that other one first. Okay. Any discussion about that? What City Manager had to say? Okay. We already voted?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Great. Next item on the agenda is consider personnel appointments. City Manager. Well, City Manager items.
Yep. Thank you. You have the following appointments for your consideration this evening. Jeffrey Horton, probationary full-time, non-civil service appointment to Radio Network Systems Technician with the IT Department effective August 3rd. Luke Cecil, Bradley Leonard, and Clayton Tuma, probationary full-time, non-civil service appointments to Lieutenant with the Fire Department effective August 2nd. Buster Davidson, Edward Smith, and David Veach, probationary full-time, non-civil service promotional appointments to Captain with the Fire Department effective August 2nd. Chelsea Anderson, probationary full-time, non-civil service promotional appointment to Secretary with the Police Department effective August 3rd. Mark Hammonds, regular full-time, non-civil service appointment to Police Officer effective July 1. John Berry, regular full-time, non-civil service appointment to Instrument Technician with the Engineering Department effective July 8th. Zane Rutherford, regular full-time, non-civil service appointment to Road Worker with the Street Department effective July 22nd. And Don Troutman, regular full-time, non-civil service appointment to Refuse Truck Driver with Sanitation effective July 15th.
Thank you, sir. I'll make a motion to approve these appointments.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith-Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 8C, City Manager comments.
No other comments tonight, Mayor.
I think we could, you want to ask the chief to come up and speak now about the...
We can do it now or under your comments, either one.
Well, you're my boss, so what do you want to do?
Yeah, that's fine.
Chief, come on up and talk about he's been sitting back there quiet, snoring.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Battalion Chief Steve Leonard, Fire Marshal, Owensboro Fire Department.
A question about those, what are they
Sky
called?
lanterns?
Those flying lanterns?
Okay, sky lanterns, we've
Yeah.
had an issue with those in the past. We recently had one where we received a complaint from a resident that found the remnants of some of the sky lanterns on or around her property or buildings. And of course, she was concerned about the possibility of them causing a fire. Clearly, fire lanterns are a fire hazard, and simply because once you send them aloft, you're sending a flaming object aloft that has no control of direction. At some point, they're going to have to descend. Ideally, what they do is they burn out and descend. Our experience is that they don't often do that. They may burn out just enough that they won't stay aloft and they start to drop down, and they're still flaming when they drop down. As a matter of fact, even some of them will totally consume themselves with fire on the way down. At that point, they drop very rapidly. Across the country, we find a lot of cities that have banned these for obvious reasons. Again, if you can't control a flaming device that floats across your city and have no control of where it lands, that's not a good thing for fire safety in our community. So the problem's obvious. The solution to me would be obvious, but that's something just like our fireworks ordinance. We try to control that to the point, and I know it's hard to enforce sometimes, but we try to control it to the point at least making people aware and taking those things away that can cause a problem. This is one of those issues that we can deal with very easily.
So in your expert opinion, we should do an ordinance to ban these things?
Correct. I think our former fire chief had worked with someone, Steve, maybe in reference to an ordinance that would ban those from the city. That was in November. I wasn't involved with that, so I don't know what Steve Mitchell did with that. I do have a copy of that you probably have a copy of as well, that they had put together. So that would be my suggestion. That would be what I would suggest for the safety of the city.
And who enforces that?
It is under city ordinance, and at the point that if they broke the law, just like fireworks, the police department, the police agency would be responsible for that.
What do you think, City Manager? You have a comment?
We did have some discussion about that in November and December. I think there was a request from the commission to speak to the county to see whether the county was interested. It would make sense to do that as a joint city-county ordinance because a flying flame would know no boundary when it was in the air. I do believe the county was not interested in that time, however.
Okay. Well, I know Audrey Measure, she's not a complainer, so that's who complained about it, so I thought it'd be appropriate for you to come and explain it and let her know that we're taking it very serious, and I appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith-Wright. Chief?
Yes, Chief. You know, I've gotten lots of calls from people about fireworks, and it's hard to police that. I mean, you know, if Jeff lets one of those lanterns off like he does.
Under the bus, under the bus.
Feel the
Under
tires.
the bus.
That was years ago.
That was years ago.
Years ago.
When we were just kids, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Jeff and I let one go right there, and it almost landed on the bridge. We was down at Friday after 5. But my question is, you know, once that
Under the bus. Ran over you with the bus.
Backed it up.
That's a friend for you. The thing is if I light one in my backyard and it takes off, how do you know it's me? You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing that I had to tell a lady when she called the other day, and she says, these kids are lighting these fireworks, and I'm tired of it. And I said, are they on your street? She said, oh, no, so they're probably somewhere else, but they're not on my street. Well, how do we know where that is? And so it's hard for you to regulate that. I don't understand how we'll do
Yeah,
that.
with an ordinance and a law in place, basically what that does is hold people accountable and responsible if they cause an injury or fire or worse. Finding out who did that, again, a police agency would be involved in that. What our experience is that there are plenty of people who witness things. There's no hiding from anything now. People are watching everything. So, and our laws are such that if we follow the law, the fireworks law to the letter, you would not be able to discharge fireworks within the city of Owensboro. It clearly states that you have to be at least 200 feet away from any building,
exactly
person,
right.
or car. There's nowhere in town to do that other than what we had just demonstrated with our fireworks show. getting off into areas where you do have that space. And again, those people are licensed, bonded, and controlled. So with the individual out there, all we can do is warn them and let them know that if you cause problems with this, you're responsible for that. And the police department responds to many calls and complaints, especially around those periods of time that we really use our fireworks. Fire department's just as involved. So yes, it's difficult, but when people call and complain to us, as they did with this situation, they typically name names and places. So it's often not that hard to find.
Well, to your point, Pam, I got a call, and this lady told me there were 200 or 300 around the Mechanicsville area that were shooting them at each other.
Yes.
And there were just not enough police officers to really monitor that. So I'm thinking about raising the fee for these people from outside of Owensboro coming in there selling these things to a couple $1,000 for a permit to set them up and sell them. That's the only way I know how to slow it down. I don't know any other way. Council, that's probably illegal, I guess, but I'm just saying I don't know how you keep the outsiders from coming in and selling and say drive by one and says 50% off the first $200 you buy or something. So it's a problem, and we get lots of calls. I'm sure everybody got them, because we just have no way to enforce it. And if they're not going to take personal responsibility of it, I don't see how we can do anything. But we'll go back to fiscal court, city manager, and see if they're interested in trying to enter into a joint agreement to try and limit this or do away with these Jeff Sanford flying lanterns. And we'll see if we can help you guys out a little bit.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Jeff, don't bring them over Saturday.
I will not bring them, I promise.
I'm lost. Did we vote on all these people?
Yes.
We did, okay. And city manager, you got any more comments? Man, you talked more today than we haven't. Well, we hadn't met for
It's been a while, so no, sir, I
2020,
think
I
we're
don't
on
think.
item 9 now.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay. Communication from elected officials. I'll start with Commissioner Pam Smith-Wright, please.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
The only thing I have is that I'd like to encourage all of our citizens to please wear your mask. I mean, if you're healthy, that's fine, but there are a lot of people in our community that aren't healthy, and it's just the right thing to do. So I would ask you to please wear your mask.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I just
welcome.
hope everybody stays safe during this time and be careful.
Commissioner Condor.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Today, we had the Zoom meeting for the Drug Steering Committee meeting. And part of this, Mayor, I know that you would be very, very interested in with what Senate Majority Leader McConnell has done. Part of the discussion that came up during the meeting had to do with the Meth versus Davis County grant that Mayor Watson and Senator McConnell was so instrumental in attempting to get us. And so Skylar, who is
Skylar Stewart,
right at it, she's on it, gave a quick update, and I think it's similar to some of the other federal grants that we've been having some issues with, that if it's not a COVID-19 grant, it's getting lost in the shuffle. And so she was saying she was still trying to be able to get it worked on to try to bring the funds in. What that did was prompted a conversation of what do we do with the Drug Steering Committee? How should it be formed going forward? Its goals, objectives, its mission statement, the entire thing was discussed today. So I think that hopefully in time that the committee will be coming to the city and county to be able to present how that can look like going forward, Mayor. So it is being talked about, just so you know, it's being talked about and trying to bring this up again. Recently I was tested for COVID-19. I need to have a outpatient small procedure done, and it went very well. I was told that you should get a phone call within 24 hours if you haven't. I haven't gotten a phone call, so good to go.
Glad to hear it. Is that all you have, Commissioner Condon?
Just one last thing is the parking lot that's next to Welborn's Florist. Everybody keep an eye on it. I think you're about to see something really, really good happen finally to a piece of property that had just been a nuisance and a maintenance issue that hopefully something's going to be happening at that lot. So thank you very much, Mayor.
You're welcome. Sky Lantern Boy.
Skylander boys.
I've given it up.
Have you?
Yeah, I gave it up.
Did you go to some kind of class or
Yeah,
something?
well, yeah, I got some counseling for the Sky Lanterns. But anyway, just to piggyback Pam, I just wanted to say, be courteous, wear your mask. It has nothing to do with political, where you lean left, right, and in the center. It's a virus. It doesn't care. So just, I think it's a courteous thing to do for others. That's number one. Number two is the fireworks. I got nothing but compliments for what you guys did. My phone was that night. I got a lot of feedback and all good. So that might be something to consider for the future. And I'd also like to thank you for moving it away from the animal shelter. I got a lot of calls, and you guys in no time made the change. I appreciate you doing that. I've got animals myself, and they're not really big fans of sky lanterns or fireworks.
Just because you tie your cat to tail to him, that's all.
Oh.
But I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, to piggyback on that, for every call you got thanking you, my worst call was, thanks a lot for moving it away from the animal shelter. Now you've made every dog in the city of Owensboro upset, and all the vets. So for every good deed goes, there's another one that comes in there.
Can't win for losing.
Yeah, but that was excellent. And it got some friends of mine across the country that pay attention to us. They even noticed how great it went. So thanks to all involved with that. To talk about masks, I got fussed at by the governor because I called it an unfunded mandate, because I was upset about the poorer people that are trying to get unemployment, that are having a hard time, that can't get out. So I got scolded about that, and that's just okay. I think the mask deal is one of the 10 commandments, love thy neighbor, because that's what you're doing. And the sooner we all get accustomed to it, and of course being in healthcare for almost 5 decades, I'm pretty accustomed to it, but it's still an aggravation. I am old. What Garth Brooks said, too young to feel this old. So I think we need to really try and do the best we can with that situation, because if we calm it down, then guess what? We have a little more freedom. So it's truly an act of freedom as well. Update on the Gold Star Monument. It's going awesome. It's going to be a tremendous event. Adrian has worked so hard on trying to keep all these pieces of the puzzle together. And Public Works came in there. Leland went to Key West, and told them to work, and they did a great job of getting the path done. We did get word today from the paver guys, and they said that there's a good chance they're going to be here August the 3rd, so that's working well, and it's just a great community effort, the money that was raised and all the efforts that have been put in by the city. I already did thank Nate and the guys and gals that helped on that MDA and that LPA. I mean, it was brutal, but with Gateway Commons folks and everybody deciding that let's everybody give a little bit and then we can get this thing done. And I do want to thank the smart guy back there and Attorney Parsons, I think his name was. I want to piggyback on what Candace put in the paper this week about Shop Owensboro First. Please keep that in mind before you hit send on the internet. We've got a lot of small businesses and not so small businesses, a lot of, that really need you to support them. They've been shut down. They're trying to open up. So kind of keep that in mind. I know everybody loves to, what is it, Prime or something? I always thought that was a mistake, but now it's like Amazon or something where you can get it pretty easily. But we really need to support our local businesses because it's it's the backbone of a community, these small businesses. And a to Larry's comment on the drug stuff, in September, we will have a drug threat seminar here in the commission chambers. If allowed, we will have the director of HIDA, High Intensity Drug Task Force area. Vandenberg County just got one, and odds are that when they get federal funding and start getting federal people to start marching over there in Vandenberg, guess where they're going to come? The next largest city. So that in itself, I think, helps us. We'll have a proposal ready. They don't consider them until January of next year, but we'll have the United States Attorney Russell Coleman will be here, the DEA, the FBI, state police, our wonderful police force, our wonderful sheriff's department, and a lot of folks involved. And we'll have a summit here to talk about how we can get federal money to help us with our meth problem. This is a big deal, and been working on it for quite a while in conjunction with Senator McConnell's staff. And the Sheriff's Department did a proposal about, I want to say 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and got close, but it included several counties. And we've decided as a group that we'll just include Daviess County, because most of the money that's coming out of Washington is going for opioids, and we have that problem, but at the same time, we also are a little bit more skewed to methamphetamine, and so I'm excited about that. We'll get our application completed by probably December, and we'll present it to Washington, and Senator McConnell has said he will write a letter of support. So we're hopeful that we can become a community with the high-intensity drug traffic area, and that brings federal money to your community. And if you've ever been on a ride around and somebody commits a problem, and the first word that comes out is this is a federal issue, everything changes. I'm telling you, they don't want any part of the feds. So hopefully it'll work. We're going to work very hard. We've been working it as hard as we can. And the great thing, U.S. Attorney Russell Coleman, from here, basically, he grew up here, so he's got a true yearning to try and help our community. So I think that's I'm excited about that, and hopefully this will happen. And last thing, I'm just curious from these from the commission here, and I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but is everybody okay with that MDA and LPA that we're moving forward with? Jeff, Larry?
Yes, sir. My only comment was my biggest concern going forward, what might happen. That was my biggest concern.
Yeah, I ain't got no crystal ball, but I appreciate that. Pro Tem?
I think it's fair.
Commissioner Smith Wright with the mask on. Okay, I just want to kind of get a feel for it, you know, before we have our vote in 2 weeks maybe?
Hopefully, yes.
Hopefully, yes. Because there was a tremendous amount of work done on this thing, and hopefully we can move forward and get on to the next fire we need to put out. So that's all I have. I'll make a motion to adjourn. If I have a second, please.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.